What's up, everybody? This is Suresh from Mind is a Monkey coming at you guys with another episode of Let's Check Out Some Diecast. In today's video, we are going to be checking out what seems to be the last mix of Matchbox Moving Parts for the year 2025. So this is Mix 8 or Mix H, whichever way we want to call it. Now, Matchbox is definitely finishing this year off in flying colors. Now, the reason I'm saying that is in 2025, Matchbox has introduced a lot of new castings in this particular line, right? So I think throughout the year among the 8 mixes, possibly 1 or maybe 2 mixes were not great when it came to, new castings. But with the exception of those 1 or 2 mixes, there have been a lot of interesting new castings, right? So just a second, what I said, just in this mix of 7 castings, right? So the Ford Country Sedan and the Mitsubishi Lancer Celeste are recolors of existing toolings, while all these 5 castings are brand new castings, right? And to top things off, this mix also has a super chase. It's a 1965 Land Rover Gen 2 pickup. But so far, I have not been lucky enough to score that. Maybe if I score it, I'll open it as part of a future video, right? So very interesting mix and a lot of nice castings. So let's check them out. Our first casting today is the 2024 Volkswagen ID Buzz. This is a new casting for 2025, and let's open it. I saw the real world version of this car not too long ago, so it's pretty cool. And I think it's like electric, as the name suggests, like ID Buzz or something like that, right? Okay, so now the moving parts as indicated in the graphic is the door, right? And it's a sliding door, so I think I gotta kind of like work it out. Oh, it's pretty cool. So let me show you. So there's this place where you can put your fingernail and kind of like lift it, and then you can slide it. Do you see that, right? So if you wanted to be subtle about it, you could just like open it and then move it like this, right? So there it is, pretty cool. And a nice Volkswagen front grille there, and looks very modern, okay? And the rear has graphics called ID Buzz and ID Buzz in both the lettering and the tailplate. A pretty neat looking Volkswagen logo right there. All right, so and such a cool moving part that reveals all the seating capacity inside. All right, so there we have the first model of the day, the Volkswagen ID Buzz from 2024. Okay. Up next, we have the 1957 Ford Country Sedan, right? So now this is a wagon model, right? So, and it's come out in a pretty cool vintage color, which is very, evocative of those vintage years, right? So this one says Country Sedan, right? And a nice classic Ford front. Oh, this top seems to be a little lopsided. And as you guys notice, that is the moving part, and this one is not going to open from this side. It opens from the other side, like some of the Datsun vehicles we have seen in the past. All right, a pretty standard Matchbox wheel, and the hood reveals an engine bay. Nothing too fancy, just like a regular engine part. Okay, which is, and if you notice, that white part is actually part of the interior, right? I think that's most likely a single piece, right? Okay, so there we have it. Nice paint scheme, especially the tinge of yellow along that contour. It's pretty cool. All right, so there we have the 1957 Ford Country Sedan. Up next, we have a very interesting casting, the 2024 Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro, right? This one, Toyota official licensed product and a new model for 2025. Now, when I was shopping in stores looking for Matchbox moving parts, this almost had me fooled because I thought it was a Matchbox moving parts super chase, right? Because of that color, right? Typically, I wish I had the Land Rover Gen 2 pickup to kind of like put them side by side. This is very similar to the color scheme that is generally chosen for Matchbox Super chases, right? So, and as you can see in the card art, the moving part is the hood. All right. So, all right. Wow. A pretty sophisticated engine bay. Lots of individually painted parts and a pretty neat looking Toyota front grille. Check that out, right? It's pretty awesome at this price point, right? And off-road star and Sequoia and Toyota logo at the rear. So all in all, a very rugged car. Gives me a lot of 4Runner vibes, right? So chances are I should put the 4Runner side by side and see how it fares in comparison with this Sequoia TRD Pro. All right. But another fun fact is both of these cars are, I mean, they are basically scale versions of 2024 models, which is pretty cool, right? It's pretty recent. All right. Up next, we have another recolor casting, right? So this is the only other casting which is not a new model besides the Ford Country sedan, the 1975 Mitsubishi Lancer Celeste, right? The moving part is the hood. Let's open that up. Check that out. It's a pretty classic car, has a lot of vintage contours about the design, right? And pretty standard Matchbox wheels like the Ford Country sedan, nothing too fancy there. And the hood reveals an engine bay. Definitely better detail than the Ford Country sedan, but lesser detail than the Sequoia TRD Pro. That's what I should say, right? Okay, so, and, just like trying to see if there's any other fancy details that we can identify. Celeste lettering, and again Celeste lettering, and I was trying to identify if there was anything to say it's a Mitsubishi, possibly not at this scale, all right, but still a very cool looking model, the 1975 Mitsubishi Lancer Celeste, right? Now, pretty much I think I scored this entire set at Target, but I did not score all of them in one visit. It took me at least like three visits to complete the set. Up next is a Lamborghini Huracan Sterato, which is another new model for 2025. And the moving part is the hatch, but I do not know, in case of a Lamborghini, that could be the engine bay, right? Because Lamborghinis are LPs, right? So the engines, in most of the models, the engines are placed in the rear, okay? So posterior, the P in LP stands for posterior, and the L stands for something of a longitude. It basically is something to do with the positioning of the engine. So there we have it. So now, we have seen this trend in the past where the card art is kind of like a, shinier version when compared to the actual model, which is like a matte finish, right? So that, I don't know if that's like a lapse in the design or, they wanted to make the card art attractive, So, what I'm saying is this does not have a metallic finish as depicted in the card art. In the past, we have seen that with a Maserati. That was just in Mix G, right? So anyway, so it's probably a pattern. We just be on the lookout for that. Now, check this out. This is the part that is opening, and yes, like I said earlier, that is indeed the engine bay, as you can see. So almost every Lamborghini, now this is where I try to be politically correct, right? So it may not be the case about, the Miura, right? Because the Miura has a pretty long hood, right? So there is every possibility that that could be the engine bay, right? But in a lot of the more sports models that Lamborghini has developed, the engine has always been on the rear, thereby giving it the LP designation, right? Now, this is, a case when it comes to Aventador, this Huracan, and I'm pretty positive that a Gallardo is also, having the engine in the rear, right? So there we have the Lamborghini Sterato, the Lamborghini Huracan Sterato, right? So that's the lettering, Sterato lettering, and a nice Lamborghini logo there. The number 63, although I don't know its significance on this particular model. Nice choice of wheels, right? The wheels are pretty much blending into that area, right? Into that quarter panel area. So it's pretty awesome, and nice racing stripes. So, I think the only downside to this might be that, kind of like matte finish, but you never know. That's a perspective, right? Some folks would like a matte finish on a certain model. Some folks would like a metallic finish. And I just thought it would be nice if the finish on the model matches the finish as depicted on the card art. But that's okay. Not a huge complaint. Up next, we have another new model for 2025. And this is indeed a scaled version of a 2025 car. I mean, how cool is that, right? A 2025 Cadillac Escalade IQ. Now, the IQ designation makes me want to think that this is either an electric vehicle or a hybrid model, right? But I do not know for sure. Let's open it up. All right. Pretty nice looking model. Yes, it's giving a lot of electric car vibes to me, right? So that, kind of like simple finish, right? And a nice enamel kind of a finish, okay? Another standard Matchbox wheel, but somehow it definitely suits this model. And not a lot of details when it comes to that, semi-translucent roof, right? And the moving part here is the hatch. All right, okay. So that this hatch is the moving part, and it basically reveals the seating system there. All right. So nothing too fancy, but yeah, I think pieces like this would definitely kind of like average the cost of production of a set of Matchbox moving parts, I guess. So Matchbox kind of tries to balance it out with some really well delivered models and some other like pretty standard models. I think this is possibly the latter one, right? All right. So anyway, I think the fact that this is a 2025 release of a model that is also based out of 2025 is pretty cool, right? It means that Matchbox is already looking at future models to design and deliver in this production line, which is pretty cool, right? So there we have the 2025 Cadillac Escalade IQ. Let's set it right there. And the last set in this mix, considering the Chase to be an exception, all right, so is the Tesla Cybertruck. All right, this is also a new model for 2025. And I gotta admit, not considering the Chase, this was kind of like the hardest piece to find, right? I don't know if it was being cherry-picked by collectors. Thanks to the efforts of a friendly Target employee, I was able to score this one and kind of like complete the set, again, with the exception of the Super Chase. So a Tesla Cybertruck, and as you see in the card art, the hood is the opening part there, but considering there is no engine, I think it's possibly used as cargo space or something, but I do not know that for a fact. So let's figure that out. All right, there you have the Tesla Cybertruck. I almost want to put it beside a Hot Wheels Tesla Cybertruck and find out who did a nice job, in the scale, right? Definitely, I gotta do that, at least for a YouTube shot, All right, so there you have the moving part. Well, there is not a lot of space in that really. So now I'm like super confused if this is like a hatch or the bay where the battery is, right? So not sure. Hopefully, I think on a second thought, maybe I should have figured that part out, right? So, is this the engine bay? Meaning to say, is this the place where the battery is hosted, or, is this like some kind of like a semi-cargo space? If you know, let me know your thoughts in the comments. All right. So there we have the Tesla Cybertruck, which is a pretty cool addition. I think this is Matchbox's first ever Tesla Cybertruck, even in the basics, we have not seen a Cybertruck from Matchbox so far. So that makes it a pretty interesting casting. So there we have the final mix of Matchbox Moving Parts for the year 2025. If I were to pick favorites, my favorite would definitely be the Lamborghini at number 1 and the Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro at number 2 and the Tesla Cybertruck at number 3. And pretty much, all the other 4 would be equals as far as I'm concerned, right? With special mention to this ID bus that has that pretty cool sliding door. And I really like the thought that went into giving that small space where you can just like put your finger and kind of lift it off and open the door. It's really nice. It comes really handy. Else I'm just like mostly struggling to open the door without either breaking the casting or breaking my nail in the process, right? So there we have it, folks. What are your favorite cars from this mix? Share your thoughts in the comments. Till I meet you guys next time, this is Suresh signing off. Rock on and stay awesome. Bye.